Welcome, everybody, to Bible Bites. I'm Pastor Dan. We are reading through the Bible one small bite at a time. We now find ourselves in Matthew chapter 20. That's where we're going to begin today. For the kingdom of heaven is like a master of a house who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. In the early chapters of Matthew, in those videos, I think I give more of an explanation of what the kingdom of heaven is, because that's a pretty constant theme for Jesus. The kingdom of heaven is God's reign. It is a kingdom which God has established. We see this very much in the Old Testament, that God is going to establish a kingdom, such as in Daniel chapter 2, some other places. But it is not a physical kingdom in the way that we think of it. For instance, we can't pack our bags and fly there. But the kingdom of God is everywhere, right? Because God reigns. So Jesus is comparing the kingdom of God to this parable that he's now beginning. And he says that there's a master who owns this vineyard. This master goes into maybe like the marketplace to find laborers for his vineyard. So after agreeing with the laborers for a denarius a day, so a denarius a day, that's a Roman coin, he sent them into his vineyard. So they began to work. And then going out about the third hour, I think the third hour is like 9 o'clock. Don't hold me to that. But he saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and he said to them, "You go into the vineyard too, and whatever is right, I will give you." So early in the morning, he hires a group of laborers. They agree to a denarius. Then later in the morning, around 9 o'clock perhaps, he finds others, and he also hires them. It doesn't say that they agreed to any price. He just says, "Hey, I'll pay you a wage." And then verse 5 says, "So they went, going out again about the 6th hour." 6 hours probably about noon. The 9th hour is like 5 o'clock maybe. He did the same. So he's finding more laborers. Even though it's later in the day, he's still hiring them. And then about the 11th hour, I have no idea what time that would be. Maybe I got this all wrong. Maybe 11th hour is 5 o'clock. But the point is that consistently later in the day, he's hiring people, right? Once early in the morning, 9 o'clock, noon, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever it would be. So he hires them as well. And he says to them, "You go into the vineyard too." And when evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to the foreman, "Call the laborers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last up to the first." Yeah, that's interesting. So he starts with the last. He gives them what they're due. Why is that? I don't know, except that it's God's priority, God's prerogative to do it that way. And when those hired about the 11th hour came, each of them received a denarius. So they received the same amount that the workers had agreed to, that the master hired very early in the morning. So, verse 10, "Now when those hired first, those hired earliest in the morning, they thought they were going to receive more." Of course, they're basing this on human fairness, right? Hey, we worked more, we should get more money. But each of them also received a denarius. So they're receiving what they had initially agreed upon. And on receiving it, they grumbled at the master of the house, saying, "Hey, these last ones that you hired, they worked only an hour. And now you've made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat." So again, they're basing this on the human concept of fairness. We worked more, and we worked hard. We sweat more. And we worked longer. We should get more money. But he replied to them, that is, the master replied to them, "Hey, friend, I'm doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius?" Well, what could they say other than, "Yeah, we did. So take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give to this last worker as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I chose with what belongs to me? Or do you begrudge my generosity? So the last will be first, and the first last." That's a constant theme as well is Jesus is talking about the kingdom of heaven, that it doesn't really operate exactly like the kingdom of this world. It's very different. And here we have the great generosity of the master, which represents God. And God's generosity is great. It's part of the culture of God's kingdom. And he rewards the last first, right? Those last to work, those last to come. He will reward them first. It's not that the first don't receive a reward. Why, again, does God do it that way? I don't know. But it is God's prerogative, right? He owns all. It's his authority, his dominion, his kingdom. And so we submit to him, but we do so grateful and thankful for his generosity, which is extended to the first as well as the last. We'll see you next video.